But Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, who wrote most of the songs in Kiss. By the way, they wrote all these songs when they were in their pre-Kiss band. Anybody know the name of this? Kelly, you have to know this, right?
I have no idea.
I know. I would not have expected you to. Wicked Lester was the band that Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley had before they formed Kiss, but they wrote all those songs with Wicked Lester. Paul always felt they had the songs and the live show to win over the world, which he ended up being right, but critics just tore them apart. They didn't want anything to do with Kiss. And, in fact, there was a review in Seattle that read, "This band called Kiss better save their money because it's going to be over as quickly as it started." They had only sold 75,000 albums before Kiss Alive was released. And then all these songs became popular from Kiss Alive. In April 1976, they earned their first platinum record for Destroyer. And then they would never look back after that. That had Beth on it, Detroit Rock City. What else was on there? Shout It Out Loud. God of Thunder was on there. And that was the first album I ever bought in my entire life, was Kiss Destroyer.
Not that there's anything wrong with this. I didn't know this until I was maybe 6 months ago old. When I watched this thing about Kiss, there were rumors that Paul Stanley was playing for the other team.
Yeah, heard that.
I had no idea.
But then they went on Oprah and claimed they had sex with over 2,000 women. So I was like, well.
But is that... well, that clears it right up.
I don't know, man.
Okay. You don't think a dude or two slipped in there?
Right?
Who knows, man? You know how the parties were back then?
No, I never knew that until, literally I was watching something and there was a big thing about Paul and that they had, he was constantly hooking up with younger men.
I don't know. Maybe.
So, again, I don't know that for sure.
Does that concern you?
No, it didn't faze me at all. It's just not what I'd expected considering how Gene Simmons was. So...
yeah, and, part of the thing that about them... and Paul Stanley talked about it. He said, we didn't hang out. They weren't out there partying all the time. He said all they did was work. All they did was practice and rehearse. And so they weren't part of that whole scene, that rock scene in New York, that if you weren't out partying with everybody after every show and doing all that kind of stuff, then you weren't legit or something. It wasn't
doing all that work, and how'd you have time for the 2,000 women?
Oh, you fit that in. Some things you make time for.
Then they became famous. They didn't have to work as hard. They could have a little fun.
Is that here's the thing, though. Is that a brag, or is that a, oh, dude, get checked?
Who knows, man?
I mean, By the way, Sean for the win. I wouldn't think that someone who owns a chandelier would worry about $50 a year.
Oh, my God.
Now, that is so true, Sean. That's a good point.
All right.
That's a good point.
All right.
Somebody who grew up with chandeliers in their house.
Forgot they even had one.
Yeah, thinks he can be a lifetime Kiss Army member for $5.
God.
Yes.
Because of your dues, that's why Ace Frehley's no longer in the band.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Is that it? I got Ace
people like you.
Oh, it's my fault.
Who thought $5 meant lifetime.
Well, Gene and Paul definitely have not earned enough money in their life. So, all right, coming up next. By the way, Jeff in Washington Courthouse was the first one, and man, he was immediate. Texted it in, and then it was wow. We only had 2 people got it right, and then Jeff texted in and he said he was a fellow Kiss Army member.
Are you sure, Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff. Are you paying the $50 every year?
Current?
Do you have a chandelier? I mean,
Doug Rogers on the Paul Stanley thing. I thought the assless chaps and fluorescent lipstick gave that away.
I mean,
here's the thing: though, aren't all chaps assless?
Well, yeah, that's right. And people always say assless chaps. Well, that's redundant.
If you were wearing assless pants, maybe, but chaps are kind of by design.
All right. Yeah, what you jamming to over there?
I can't get. I'm trying to get out, and you know how you open something and then all of a sudden an app pops up.
Right.
Same thing over and over. It drives me crazy. All I want to do. I was actually reading a Kurt Cobain thing, and just every time I go to open the story, it pops up the same app. So now I'm like, screw it, whatever. It's trying to provide help and information, and I'm getting app spammed.
So I found I found picture of the original KISS Army membership card, and there's no expiration date or anything. It just says you're officially recognized as a member in good standing of the KISS Army.
I mean, you got to at least admit you're a deadbeat at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've never been.
How many library books do you have that you haven't returned either?
4 or 5. But why didn't they send me a notification? You got to renew. I've never been asked for a renewal fee. Nothing. I've got no expiration on. Maybe I'm grandfathered in. Maybe there was no renewal back then. Because now, with $50, you also get access to meet and greets and all this. None of that stuff was going on back then. You know.
I mean, did you get your X-ray glasses too at the same time? The X-ray
little
glasses
makeup kit. You should inquire. You should reach out to the KISS Army and inquire and see where you're standing.
Yeah,
That's
do you
a
have
good
like
idea.
new merch or anything? Are you supporting KISS in any way whatsoever since you were young?
I have a $75 KISS shirt that I got at the last show.
Ooh, I like that. Okay,
All right.
I'm going to reconsider here. You've got your original KISS Army membership card that says there's no expiration date, and you've just purchased merch.
Yeah.
I give you the A-OK on that. 2
All right.
thumbs up, Vic. You're back in.
If Kelly says it, I'm good.
Well, I thought you were a deadbeat, but you're not a deadbeat.
I mean,
you're an active
I would still want to know.
participant.
I mean, as much as I adore KQ over there, she is not ranked in the KISS Army that is and has the ability to let you know that you're in good standing.
Well, if that's true.
Kelly Quinn is ranked in with anything in good standing.
She is, but I'm just saying, I would check.
I will put her up against Paul Stanley, and he will lose.
I would seriously reach out. I would be curious to see.
I would like to find out. Yeah, that's
What your
funny.
standing
Just
is.
I don't know if maybe I'm grandfathered in.
You could be, or maybe or they hit you with a bill.
We've been looking for you for years.
Exactly. How many times have you moved? How many aliases do you have?
We have filed with a collections agency.
Exactly. You'll get a notice.
Yeah, that notice you said you didn't get, you're about to.
Hello, how are you? I'm calling to talk about.
Oh my gosh.
This is an attempt to collect the debt.
Jeez. All right. So I said the Illuminati are controlling what? What?
Vic's going to go to not being able to answer his phone because it's collections from the KISS Army.
Oh my gosh.
That he
Dude,
thought he was
I got-
grandfathered into.
I got 11 scam likely phone calls yesterday. 11. I think that was the record.
I believe it. Dude, I worked for another radio company that actually operates in this town that's $90 billion in debt. And when I had a company
Wonder who
phone,
that could be.
I swear to God, I had a company phone at one point in time where they paid for your phone. I got so many spam calls. Like, I would not be surprised if they sold our information to the highest bidder.
No doubt. No doubt.
I get the, and I still get the, like everybody else does, hi, your car warranty on your 2011 Nissan sucks for whoever owns that now, because it's not me.
Well, it was interesting because I saw this story that said analysis of the Federal Trade Commission data says Americans lost about $330 million to scams last year.
I believe that.
Oh, absolutely. About $150 million was in investments and investment advice, but business imposters set Americans back $35 million. Romance scams pulled in $34 million.
People are lonely.
Man.
Well,
Crazy.
the worst is they prey on the elderly people that aren't good with technology and don't know what's going on. They prey on them, and that's what sucks because those poor people, you know.
Yeah. Kelly, you have to tell your mom not to answer the phone all the time.
Oh, she never does. Unless the name pops up from her address book, there's no answering of the phone. So I tell you what, if somebody ever got through and scammed my mom, I would make it my absolute life's mission to destroy your life.
You think Paul Stanley wants to take that on?
No,
Lewis?
he'd stick the whole KISS Army on them, provided they paid their dues.